Now, my bride of 60 years says that sometimes I have a weird sense of humor. And she uses the following story as an example of that weird sense. I have a friend named George. He happened at one time to be my next door neighbor here at Chaco. And he has a fishing lake. Well, George and I were in a boat fishing on his lake one day, and I was using a devil's horse plug. Now, you bass fishermen know what I'm talking about when I say that that plug is a killer. It's really a good plug. 3 sets of treble hooks, spinner on each end, it's a surface lure. Well, I had thrown that devil's horse up against the bank where I figured something might be laying around watching, and I twitched it a couple of times, and there was an explosion under it that made me realize there was a monster bass under there. I mean, he was a good one. Well, when he did that, I gave him a little space, and then I jerked that rod back hard as I could jerk it to set the hooks. Problem was, he must have had his mouth open or something, because there was no resistance. The hooks didn't set, and that plug came sailing up out of that water and was headed straight for my nose with all 9 hooks shining. Well, I threw up my arm to keep him hitting me in the nose, and 2 of the hooks stuck in my elbow skin all the way past the barb. Now, you know, your elbow skin is probably as tough a piece of skin as you have. So I started reaching around with my left hand to try to pull the hooks out, but I couldn't get them out. They were way past the barb. So I asked George if he'd just get a hold of them, see if he could pull them out. Well, now George is not one of those people who likes the sight of blood. It makes him real green around the gills. But he swallowed 2 or 3 times and began to try to pull the hooks up, but he just couldn't do it. They were in there solid, and that skin was tough, and those barbs were big. And he was getting weaker and sicker by the minute. I have to give him credit, though. He stayed with it. He tried. And I finally said, look, George, look in the tackle box and get that set of cutter pliers and try to pull those hooks out with those pliers. And if we can't pull them out, we'll just have to take the cutter part and just cut the hooks off and work them through and pull them out the other side. Well, that's what he finally had to do, sweating the whole time. And he finally was able to cut the hooks in 2, push them past the barb, and slip the hooks out. But he was one relieved man when they finally came out. And he leaned back and said something like, you know, it takes a real friend to do something like that for you. And I told him, I said, no, George, a real friend would have stuck his arm out so the plug wouldn't have hit me. Well, he looked at me like I was something that just crawled up out of a septic tank and didn't say anything else. And I'm still waiting for him to invite me to go fishing with him again. I don't know whether he will or not. I think he's just oversensitive and kind of hard to figure out. But Perry cites that as an example of my humor not being appropriate at certain times. And she told me I need to work on that. And I'm working on it. I don't know whether it'll work or not. We'll see. I'm Jim Ritchie. I'll see you again next time.